So I'm going to start just by talking about some of the definitions of hate. And Nick sort of pointed out that it's a really difficult thing to talk about. And actually, you know, sometimes we might be talking about hate crimes, but we might have different ideas about what that is. So I'm going to run through some of the definitions. So the Crown Prosecution Service, who are responsible for taking criminal cases that have been investigated by police to court to prosecute, define hate like this. So this is taken from their website, which you can go and have a look at if you want to get a bit more detail about the law. But they say that when someone is hostile to another person because of their disability, nationality, race, religion, sexual orientation, or transgender identity, then it can be a hate crime. And this could be about intimidation, it could be about harassment, it could be damage to property, and it could be violence. So my first question to you guys, I'm going to get you involved now, is do you think that hate only happens to people because of disability, nationality, race, religion, sexual orientation, or transgender identity? No? Do you think there's some groups missing?
I think the fear of other has been well demonstrated throughout history, even in literature, so I don't think it's just because of these things. As one of the speakers said, sometimes if things aren't going well for yourself, you look for something else to blame, and then the other person is just the most visible target.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. Thank you.
Age is a big discriminatory factor.
Yeah, age comes up a lot.
Misogyny as well.
Yes. Does everybody know the term misogyny? No. Some people not. So misogyny is the hatred of women. So for a lot of people, and a lot of Waltham Forest residents talk about, as women walking down the street, you face a lot of sexual harassment in public places. And it really changes how you feel in public space if you are kind of always aware that that might happen to you. And people talk about that being a form of misogyny, because that kind of street-based sexual harassment that happens is a form of hatred towards women. So a lot of the time, the perpetrators of it might not see it as them being hateful. They might see it as something else. But yeah, absolutely, misogyny. I'm being told I need to move on. Do you want to shout out quickly? Ethnicity. Yeah, absolutely. Which might be covered there under nationality or race. But yeah, absolutely, ethnicity might be another one. So you can see the legal definition doesn't really describe hate, how our communities experience it. It's simply just a part of the law. And we don't feel that hate will be able to be tackled effectively using the law alone. It's of course an excellent tool that we need to have a strong law and a strong kind of criminal justice response, but it may not be all we need. We may need more. So very quickly, the CPS go on to describe hate as a term. So hate crime can be used to describe a range of criminal behaviour where the perpetrator is motivated by hostility or demonstrates hostility towards the victim's disability, race, religion, sexual orientation, or transgender. So these aspects of a person's identity are known as protected characteristics under the law. So at the moment, there's only 5. As hate crime can include verbal abuse, intimidation, threats, harassment, assault, bullying, as well as damage to property. The perpetrators might be a friend, a carer, or really anyone in the community. So that's what the law tells us. Hate incidences so there's a sort of difference between hate incidences and hate crime. So incidences are based on abuse, a gang, where somebody's targeted as a result of their identity, but it's expanded. So some people talk about belonging to an alternative subculture and being targeted as a result of that, or age, as was mentioned over here. And you can report these things, however, they won't be prosecuted as hate crime. So that's a hate incident, okay? So when we talk to our community, though, in Waltham Forest, I guess this definition is the one that people say means the most to them, that actually is meaningful for them and makes the most sense. So hate crime or a hate incident is an act of victimisation that you feel was targeted directly towards you because of who you are. So it doesn't say what the characteristic needs to be, but just something about who you are and your identity. And there's a range there, and it's a limited, there might be more things than this of what could be called, what we could think of as a hate incident. So everything from the verbal abuse, threatening behaviour, and that might be online, or it might be in person or on the street, it might be by phone or by text, deliberate property damage, those sorts of things that we've already talked about. But it also might be things like being ignored, overlooked, or not given a service due to your status in a minority group. Seeing nods of people saying this is things they see. It might be being felt that you've been treated as stupid or talked down to. It might be about being deliberately left out of conversations or activities, being treated rudely or disrespectfully, your ideas or your opinions being minimised or ignored or devalued, or being stared at by strangers. And as I said at the beginning, that list it's not limited to these things. There's probably many more things that happen to people that makes them feel targeted in our community. And you're going to spend the next couple of days hearing from people who have felt victimised, abused and targeted as a result of hate. And they will be able to give you a much richer understanding of what that felt. So that's the sort of definitions we use. So I guess what we wanted you to reflect on in your group conversations later is sort of what does hate mean to you? Is this the definitions you would use? Is there other things that you would add? What does identity mean to you? Because we've already said that it might be beyond those 5 characteristics that we have enshrined in law. Also, what matters to our community in Waltham Forest? So really, we've got an opportunity in Waltham Forest to say, here's how we define hate. You know, we don't have to turn to the law definition. We can make our own that works for us and for our residents. So also, how do you think the definitions contribute to everybody feeling equally welcome and safe? So what do definitions mean when we're thinking about the solutions and when we're thinking about how we create a community where everybody feels equally welcome and safe? And I'm out of time. Thank you very much. I'll be popping up again, but over to you. Oh, yes, actually, this is really important. This is my happy ending of my presentation. So you may be aware that there was a spate of incidences of racist graffiti that got put up around Waltham Forest. I've got some nods of people who saw it. So this is what it said. It said, "Speak English," and it popped up in a few areas in the borough. And our residents didn't take kindly to this and made alterations to the graffiti on Photoshop and sent this around social media. So it says, "We speak Punjabi, English, Polish, Bulgarian, Cockney, Turkish, and all the other languages." Not only that, but a group of residents also got together and went to the sites where this racist graffiti appeared. It had been painted over straight away, but they put bulbs in the ground and put flowers there and wanted to do something to sort of restore the area to help us forget that this horrible thing happened and grow flowers and feel better about it. And I think that's why this is the place to hold a citizens' assembly on hate, because we've got this community that already are incredible at standing against hate. And how can we capitalise on that? How can we grow that? And how can we share this with the rest of London, the rest of the UK and the rest of the world about how we're going to do it here in Waltham Forest?